Welcome to the Confidence in Singing podcast, where you can reclaim your voice and rediscover the joy of singing. I'm Aideen, and my guests include singers and voice experts who share their insights and journey to encourage singing for health, happiness, and fun. To support this podcast and join the Confidence in Singing community, just click on the Patreon link below. Welcome everyone to the Confidence in Singing podcast. My guest today is Roger Burnley, a vocal coach from California. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you so much. You have no idea how happy I am to be here and to be speaking with you about this, because it's close to my heart, as you know.
Yes, we came across each other, and when we chatted, we realized that we were 100% aligned in terms of our values. And one of my biggest values is to let people know that their voices matter, that their voices have value, and that it is possible to enjoy music and singing no matter what age you are or what your starting point is.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting to hear you even just say that, because I think my life covers all of those starting points and ages and the whole bit. And age is one thing that I keep talking to everyone about, because I'm 70. I keep shouting it to the rooftops now because most people are afraid of talking about that. And I said, listen to my voice, listen to what's happened. But it came from this journey. And that's what I really want people to understand, because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me when I started, because I thought I was terrible in the beginning.
Absolutely. And, you know, being terrible and noticing that you're terrible is a great starting point. We do, as one of my guests has said recently, where nobody is born a great singer, nobody is born a great anything.
Right.
So, Roger, before we start into our conversation, would you like to just tell us a little bit about your work and what you do, like a short bio version of what you do, if you don't mind?
My short bio version now is that I work with people in all areas of their life. I mean, singing was the first thing because that's what I came to first. But then it led me to, which the fascinating thing, which all of your clients will start to understand, because it led me to empowerment life coaching. See, because working on your voice causes that to happen mysteriously. You thought, oh, I have a voice, I feel confident with it, mean that I start feeling more confident in my life. I can go out and do other things. And when I started discovering that, it shifted me into really dedicating, you would say, more of my life to helping people feel more confident wherever they're going, you know. But it started with the singing. That's why I love the name of your podcast. I love the name of your YouTube channel, because it's what I discovered. Confidence in singing.
You know, yes. Singing brings you confidence.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I know you have a few other things that you do. I mean, I'm not sure if you're still performing. Are you still doing any performance yourself?
I haven't been. I did something a few weeks ago. I just performed on someone's summit. I sang a song. I recorded a couple songs and did that, which was fun. And I thought, oh, I remember doing this and I want to get back to more of it. The difference for me now is that I know a lot of people sing and go out and try to perform because they're trying to make it. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing it because it's fun. And I want people to understand they get to this place where they just do it because they enjoy it. I'm not trying to get anywhere with it. And so that's been the beauty of this experience. So, but I've moved in more into my spiritual work as well. I meditate. I've been doing that, and I do what's called automatic writing and channeling, and I've done that. I have a website called anyadvicefortoday.com where I do it every day. I post spiritual writings that I receive every single day, because this entire journey has led me to that place in my life where I know what everyone has to offer, and I have to give it back in that way, which is what I'm doing more of now.
Isn't that wonderful? It's like you're finding that treasure within you through this exploration of your voice and the things that you enjoy. Because not everybody would enjoy singing. So it's not that we're saying everybody should be singing, but if you enjoy music and enjoy singing, it can lead you somewhere. The reasons to do it and the result of doing it can be far greater than just being able to sing publicly or to, to do it for others. It's as important for ourselves as it is
Yeah.
to have others listening.
Okay, so I can't believe you said that because I'm just going to talk about it. I'm just going to put this out there. As you said, it will lead you to something else. Well, that's exactly what my life was. That's exactly what happened in my life. And I will kind of say to my clients, I think I really did singing only so that I could figure out all the other stuff. I think I only did singing so I could become comfortable to really do the other things that I wanted to do in my life. That's really how it felt. And I'm saying that because I've had clients who have had that similar experience.
Mm.
And I talked about this in the beginning, and you probably do this with your clients. I said, your voice is your most personal form of expression.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we're speaking or singing or whatever, we know that we will be perceived a particular way when someone hears our voice. Or we might make that up. We might think that, but it's always there. We feel it. So if we're not feeling confident in how we're controlling or handling our voice, how could we possibly expect that to translate into our lives and feel confident in other things that we might do? Now, I didn't know
Yes,
that in the beginning.
absolutely. And I mean, I feel like when we stand up to sing, I mean, how often does
Mhm.
anyone listen to us for 3.5 minutes?
Right,
Nobody,
yeah.
like a conversation is like a 30-second soundbite, and then you reply, and then I reply. So
Right.
when you sing, you're actually standing up and almost taking a leadership role. The way
Yes.
someone might give a speech, or, where we
Mhm.
have to have a certain amount of confidence in what we're about to do in order to say to people, hey, listen to me for the next 3.5 minutes.
Right. And it takes uh, that confidence develops and grows because what we're trying to do is just really be ourselves. We're just trying to move into that place of being ourselves. And I would tell the story all the time. And I'm not making this up. Everybody can find this information because I love telling the story. When I started performing when I came to Los Angeles in 1980. I moved here in 1982. And a few years later, this is about the age thing again, because I didn't start performing again. I had done it years ago, but I let it go. I actually let it go for a while. And then I came here and I'm in my 30s now, and I'm thinking, well, I still want to go back to it. I still want to do singing. I don't know why, but I still have to do that. And as I got into it, I started encountering so many of my insecurities. They just started coming up. In every way imaginable. I would tell the story of going to this one show. I got to the place where I had a regular gig that I would do basically about once a month. I would do a full show with a band, backup singers, a whole bit. And I got to that place because I would go in and do the shorter versions. I would go in and audition basically. And then they said, oh, well, this guy, we can put him into a show. But it was my responsibility to put it together and get the people there and all of that. And so I would do all that thing. And then I'd be there on the night of the show. I'm standing backstage about to go on and I am terrified. And I'm thinking, why did I do this? Nobody told me to do this. Nobody told me I had to be here. I am just terrible. I'm just sweating. And then I get on stage and I can see it. I have videos of this still to this day where I'm performing and I'm sweating because I'm so nervous about what I'm doing. And then it got better over time. But later in years, I go, why did I do that to myself? And I thought, oh, I did it because I wanted to get over my fear. I wanted to get over my nerves. And the only way to do it was to jump in, was to go and
Yeah.
do it. That's what happened.
When did you start singing? Like when did you when did you
See,
notice that singing is something I love?
yeah, you're asking all the right questions because now again, I told you, I'm going to cover the gamut of all the ages of anybody that's going to listen to this podcast to see wherever you come in and understand it's going to be help you. In 12 years old, I'm in grade school and we were getting ready for our graduation to go to high school. And so we were going to perform at the graduation. We're going to all sing and all that. And I started to sing. I had never done it before, never thought about it. And I thought maybe there's something there. Then we had a coach, a choir director who came to our grade school. And I'm in the US, so we have these things set up where we have a grade school, we go to 8th grade, and then we go into high school. I know in different places it's called different things, but that's what happened here. So when I'm about to go into high school, this coach from the high school came and he was auditioning people. He was to see who could come into the choirs. They had a boys choir, and then they had a junior a cappella choir, and all of that. And so the natural place for me to go would be into the boys choir because I'm this kid, very young, a freshman. And I don't know what happened. I could be making this up, but somehow I'm thinking this guy said, "You're something wrong with your voice. Your voice is too high. It doesn't sound right." Oh, and I put that in me. I held on to it. And I think something is wrong with me because he said this, and I didn't know what to do. But I carried it around. I felt so insecure the entire time. Now, then I go to high school. My voice changed a little bit over the summer. Maybe that had something to do with it. I was growing up. I was going through puberty, which is what happens. Our voices changes. So maybe it got a little better. I don't know. I don't have a memory of that, except now this same person, the same choir director who told me that something was wrong, or at least I perceived that that's what he told me. Now he's telling me, "No, you have talent. You have something you can do." I'm saying, "No, that can't be true." I didn't believe it. I said, "No." He kept pushing me the entire time, even till, and I just want everyone to understand this because I resisted it all the way. Sometimes we always need people. I talk about this in terms of coaches and mentors and all of that. I said, I've never done anything in my life without a coach or a mentor because I was just a little too afraid. And so when he kept pushing me, now I just said, "This doesn't make sense." He says, "Yes, I want you to go." And in my junior year, he then said, "We're going to put you in the a cappella choir." In my sophomore year, they moved me to the junior a cappella choir, which was really unheard of because you weren't supposed to do that until you were a junior. But he says, "No, you're that talented." I go, "No, I'm not." I kept arguing the whole time, but I went along with it. Then he says, "Now we're going to send you to the all-city choir." That was where I lived in Chicago at the time, Chicago, Illinois, here in the U.S., and that choir was made up of all of the best singers from each high school. So you had to be selected by your directors and sent there. And so it was a select thing. And you were good. I never felt good. I was terrified the entire time. And then we would have, I want everyone to really get this because it's it's unbelievable. Then we would have rehearsals on Saturday because that was the easiest time for everyone to come because we were from all over the city, different high schools. And it was early in the morning where we had to go. I wouldn't get up to go to the rehearsal. I couldn't get up. My mother would have to force me out of bed to get me to go because I was just terrified. Then we got to the place where they wanted to test us. They wanted to give us a test. And I said, "I could never do this." And the test was we had to sing our part by ourselves. We had 4 parts, but we had to sing with all the other 3 parts, but individually, because they wanted to see how good we were. The most terrifying thing ever. I thought, I'm fine if I can stand behind everyone and listen to them and rely on what they're doing. But to believe that I could bring that up myself, no, I couldn't do that. Well, I did it. Eventually, I did it. And it was the best thing ever. So now I'm looking at this journey, and I want everyone to understand this. So I went from being 12 years old, going through all of the rest of my high school, feeling incredibly insecure that I had nothing, and had everybody else telling me till I finally figured out, okay, maybe I can do something. It just took a while. And so anyone who starts on this journey, they will find that it will expose them to something that is valuable within them. Don't know what it is, but it's going to be there. I've never seen anyone who has not had that experience.
That's wonderful. It's so interesting. So when you did that, the choir, with all the other high schools, there was a turning
Yes.
point there where you suddenly
Yes.
realized, I do
Yes.
love this and I can do it, and I'm actually going to allow myself to enjoy myself more. Would that be right?
That's pretty much it. Because it was that last test. And I've had so many of them along the way, but that one was where I had to do it by myself, you see, where I had to
Mm-hmm.
sing my part, my tenor part, which is what I was singing at that time. I had to sing it by myself with the alto, bass, and soprano. And I
Wow.
thought I could never do this. But when I did it, it shifted everything. I recognized that all the training that I had done all that time had worked.
Yes.
It produced results. It was me who didn't trust it. Do you see?
Yes.
And so the journey of developing your voice and singing and all of that does require you to develop more trust in yourself and who you are. That's what starts to come about.
That is
So yeah, it was
beautiful,
a great
because
experience.
when I talk about the word confidence, it actually,
Hmm.
when someone is in our confidence, they are the
Hmm.
person that we trust. They're the person that we tell things to. So being confident is a little bit to do with trusting yourself,
Hmm.
knowing, and also, I mean, I really like to emphasize that self-love and self-acceptance along the journey, that even when you don't feel as confident as you think you should, that's
Hmm.
okay. And even when it
Hmm.
doesn't sound
Absolutely.
exactly as you would hope, that's okay
Hmm.
too.
Yeah. This is what I want everyone to understand, because I told you my thing for coming on this podcast is that I wanted everyone to understand this, that it's a journey and they will get there. And I'm totally transparent with this, even when I'm working with my clients, uh, because I don't sound quite right yet. I don't sound the way I want to. I still sound terrible. Yeah, I said that too, forever, but I didn't stop. I kept going, and I would record myself, and I would listen. I said, "Still not right," and I'd keep doing it. So I knew that it was taking me somewhere, and I had to finish it. And then there was one day. And I want everyone to understand, this is not like I was some new person. I didn't just start. I'd been doing this for a while, but I finally reached that place where I'd listened to a recording and I said the words, "I sound like a singer." Do you see?
Wow.
I had been, yes, I had been coaching, I'd been doing all of that, but I finally reached a place within my own development and what I felt that I could listen to myself and say, I sound like a singer.
It's
And
so
and
interesting.
that's,
A
mm,
friend of mine, well, a friend of mine really asked me, I was, I think, 28, and he asked me, what's my dream? And I said, well,
mm,
my dream is to be a singer, but I can't do that. And, I'd
mm,
been singing my whole life. I was singing through the
mm,
choirs. I had taken, classical music lessons. I had done
mm,
lots of small performances. I was certainly singing in church a lot. And I didn't credit myself as a singer at all. At
mm,
all. I thought a singer is only someone who does it professionally. And I did
yes,
study music for a couple of years. And one of the first lessons was, that you can be a part-time professional, that you can be a
right,
hobby professional, you can be an amateur professional, like that these categorizations are, none of them is set in stone. There's nobody going,
exactly,
okay, a professional musician has to do 365 performances a year. There's
yes,
some professional musicians that perform twice a year, and they may not be doing it full time, but they can
mm,
still consider themselves professional. So being a singer and that identity of kind of saying I'm a singer, like I asked a
mm,
gentleman at a reunion, my husband's high school reunion. I said, "So are you a singer?" And he said, "Oh, I love to sing." I said, "Well, you can call yourself a singer, You can
yes,
still call yourself a singer, even if you just love to sing and you've only done it in a couple of musicals. You don't have to compare yourself to Pavarotti and the you know
exactly,
the very kind of well respected musicians and singers.
right,
And even then, like, a lot of singers don't consider themselves musicians, which I think is a pity, because
mm,
a lot of singers are musicians, that they play an instrument or two and they understand music
mm,
theory to some degree.
mm.
So sometimes I think we don't give ourselves the credit that we're due.
And a part of it too is, and so I'm glad you're doing this because you're giving people a lot more education. One of the things that I discovered, especially working with a lot of my clients, is that they didn't understand how many opportunities they were out there, and being a big star is just one small aspect of it. There's so many people who are having wonderful lives performing small gigs, clubs, traveling around. Some are doing cruise ships and loving it. I mean, just all sorts of different things that we don't think about. All the different careers. It's not about being we look at I think the recording artists and we
Yeah.
think, oh, that's who we're supposed to be. No, you're supposed to be what's right for you. And there's just so much of it. And I never knew that. I'll tell you this. I had an associate. She told me that she had done 350 shows in a year or something crazy like that. She was traveling around doing all these shows and making this money. She was saying how much money she had made doing these shows. Like, how is that possible? And then she said, well, I've done it. So she decided to create a course. And I go, nobody's going to buy this. Nobody believes it. And she said, how to make a career performing around without an agent or manager or social media. And she actually put together a course to show people how to do it. And she would take them through that to talk about her journey, how she went and found gigs on her own, the resources that she used. I mean, it was crazy, but she did it. So the point is, there's always something if people want to do this. And maybe you don't want to do this, but the other thing that I would always say to my clients is that when they come up like with you, the excuse, I can't sing. Yes, you can. You can sing, because if you wanted to take the time and effort and learn and get the right tools and instruction and stay with it, you can sing. There's nothing within you that wouldn't do that except you giving up and stopping. That's all.
Absolutely wonderful.
I'm proof of, I can say that because I'm proof of it.
There, yeah, and it is a process. I mean, I really believe that it's a process, and what I love to do is try to make the process fun. So doing exercises should feel interesting and fun and something that you're going to enjoy. Because if it becomes such hard work and it's kind of, because I studied some, piano, and I was told to learn this piece and learn that piece, and you're doing all these pieces that you don't even like. So I like that to make what I do more fun and more at the pace of each student. And that, is there anything that you wish you'd known before you started your singing kind of career part?
I don't know if it would. I don't know if I wanted to know that. I mean, to know what it would have brought me, I might. I don't know if I would have done it. It might have felt too scary. I'm not sure. If you could have told me at that age when I was still so insecure about absolutely everything, if you could have told me that I was going to morph into being a speaker and a coach and an author, all those things, I probably wouldn't have believed it and I would have stopped. I don't know. But what I say to everyone now is that all I know is that practicing and working on your voice is the journey that's going to take you to understanding everything about yourself and whatever career you want, whether it's singing or anything else. It's just a tool that you're going to use to get to what you're supposed to be doing in this life.
Well, what kinds of advice do you give to people that are just starting out? What's your first couple of little steps? When someone says, I might be interested. I'm sure there's a couple of things that you suggest people do.
It depends on where they come from. First of all, if they come, most people will say, I can't sing or I can't do any of that. And I said, well, yeah, you can. And then I'll explain, well, why would you want to try? You see? And so trying means you're developing some sort of skill. And no matter what, you will start to know more about yourself. You'll start to understand your body. You will become more connected to yourself, to your body, just by going through that process. And so that's the value just in that. And then I would say you have to be patient. You have to be patient, because when I love using the years of my life to talk about this, because it's taken me so long to move and go into all of these different areas. So I said, look at my journey. You get there eventually, but you got to be patient with. And I give them my 3 P's: practice, patience, and persistence. That's all. You just that'll get you there. Practice, patience, and persistence.
Beautiful. Yes, and I would 100% agree with that. And trying, the process of trying takes you somewhere. That every step matters.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes I think a lot of people compare themselves too much to others, number one, and also compare themselves to where they want to be. Now, we never ever get
Yes.
to where we want to be. This is something a lot of people don't realize. I get to my next stage and then I want to be even
Right.
better than the stage I'm at.
Exactly.
So like I mean, if I had looked back and said, oh, I'm going to be running a podcast and I'm going to be this,
Right.
voice coach, da da da. I mean, if I had decided I wanted all of that, by the time I get here, I'm going, oh, now I also want this and that. So we never get to where we want to be. When we appreciate where we are, and like that, when you can say, oh, that's where I was, and this is where I
Yeah.
am. And, that's kind of cool what I've done.
Yeah. You said the most important thing, though, about comparing yourself to someone else. And so, this is what would happen when the client would come to me, a new person would come and say, I want to sound like so and so, some big artist that they're mentioning. I want to sound like them. I go, no, you don't. Because we have them. We don't have you. Everyone was born with this unique, beautiful voice if they're willing to find it and uncover it. And so we want to hear you, not that other artist that we already have. And so when they start to get that and go, okay, maybe there's something in there that I can find. And there is always.
That's beautiful. And I also feel that the experiences that each person brings to a song. So even if you have a similar voice to someone else,
Right.
you are a
Yes.
completely unique human being. And
Yes.
when you sing the
Yes.
words, black is the color of my true love's hair. That's a typical Irish one. Like, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of Roger Burnley's gorgeous dark hair, or I'm thinking of, my mom's, or so we're singing
Right.
about something different, and we're bringing ourselves and our experience and our soul and our heart to the song. And it's always going to feel very different to someone else singing the same song.
I got to say, I'm so pleased with the work that you are doing. I just have to say this because my mission now in life, because I still do some of the other things, but now it's really important for me for people to understand how important they are, to come into owning themselves, loving who they are, and all of it. And so seeing that you have a channel and a station with this name is just so thrilling for me.
It's so true. I mean, each person matters. And I feel, at a certain point, I realized that it's a life or death situation. I'm either expanding and learning to be myself more and trusting myself more and following my bliss more, or I'm going down a deep, dark path that takes me nowhere. So each person that I speak to, I feel that urgency, not in a kind of, oh my God, we better hurry, but more so, it actually does matter. It actually matters that, Roger does that singing, or Aideen does that singing, or Mary, or Jane, or whoever it may be.
Right.
That each person listening here, you have a path forward that is valuable and it matters. And sometimes it's only going to matter to the people that know you closely. But when you step into your own power, other people notice that and they will step into their power because of you. So if you stay small, those people that know you, they will have an excuse to stay small as well. And sometimes you're the only person in your immediate circle who's doing unusual things or taking chances. But that's okay because there's a lot of other people taking chances. And if you're the only one in your small circle, then that's important
your job.
in
That's
that
where
way.
you're supposed to be. Yes.
We sometimes need to lead by example and lead by doing what we enjoy.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I've said to so many, we've been talked out of having fun sometimes in our lives because many people know, wait a minute, I used to enjoy singing when I was younger. Well, why did you stop? I used to enjoy these things, and you're right. We need to have fun and enjoy it, and many people will have memories that they enjoyed their singing even when they were much younger if they've given it up since.
Tell me a little bit about why you ended up doing like the empowerment coaching. So do you have people that you work with now that aren't singers that maybe are coming to you for a different reason?
Oh, yeah. Most of them now. A lot of them are coming to me so they can feel confident in their lives. I say I'm a life purpose coach because I can do this really quickly. Having coached singers for all this time, what I discovered was that the process they each discovered and went through caused them to understand who they were, caused them to figure out what they were meant to do in life, just from starting with singing. It didn't mean that they stayed with me, but they went on and did many other things. Some of them, now I will say that some of them in the very beginning became stars. I had, like Brandy started with me when she was 15 years old. And well, actually
Brandy,
12.
which Brandy now?
Clarify. Brandy Norwood. Brandy Norwood. She's on a TV show now too, just new one. But Brandy, and she was big when, this is back in the long time ago, 90s. And then Macy Gray was another one some people might know of. Macy Gray, she started when she was in college. So I saw these people develop into those artists. But then there were many other people who developed and did other things. They created big businesses, created other stuff, but they did the singing because it was fun for them. They just wanted to do it and see. But I know that what occurred was that they started to understand and accept themselves a lot more because of starting there, which led them to everything else. That's why I had to shift and do this work. Because I said, and now that I've seen this, I know everyone has a life purpose. And sometimes singing helps them find it because they started developing who they are, because they started learning how to sing.
It's wonderful. I mean, it's so true. It's like you're stepping into your own power. And
Right.
I love that confidence, when someone builds a bit of confidence, that it rubs off on every area of their life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Yes.
such a pleasure having you on the show. We do have a song
Thank
of
you.
yours that you're going to introduce in a
Oh,
moment.
yes. And okay, you asked about performing. Okay, this was probably the last time I performed and did a concert of my own was 20 years ago. I just want people to understand that.
Yeah.
However, this particular song is one that I wrote for this concert that I did, and it's called Angel in Disguise. And I wrote it for my sister-in-law. And I wrote it because, and sometimes we need motivation, and she was my motivation. And the reason she was my motivation, unfortunately, was because she was dying. She had breast cancer, and she was in the process of dying. And I said, I'm going to write a song for you. And then she kept telling me, do it. I want you to really do this. She said, but I'm not going to listen to it until you're finished with it. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I was stuck. I had such writer's block. I couldn't get it. And then I just got in there and I said, oh, wait a minute. Do what you tell your clients. Come from your heart. Connect to what you want to say. Be real. Do all that. And then when I came to that place, I was able to write the song and record it. And then she was able to hear it. And she heard it on the day that she died. The last day.
My Lord.
And I thought there could be nothing more perfect than that. She was fine with it. She understood it. And it moved me to a whole different place. And after that, that's why that was 20 years ago. And after that, I just said, I have to devote my work now to allowing other people to come to this kind of awareness and know who they are and how their right place in the world, basically.
Absolutely wonderful. Roger, before we play your song, would you like to tell people your web address or some ways that they can follow you or get in touch with you if they're interested?
Yes. If they have a link tree, that's probably all my events will be on my link tree, which I'll give to you, but it's Linktree, the Burnley Method, Burnley, the Burnley Method. And then also my website is rogerburnley.com. And so
Wonderful.
those
I'll be
two
putting
places
all of that.
Perfect. Great.
I'll put it in the notes, and we can put it on the screen for those of you watching the video version of the podcast.
Perfect.
Is there anything that you'd like to say before we finish?
If they hear anything, if they take away anything from me from today, is to know that they have a right place here in the world and they're going to find it. And that if they decide, because they got to listening to this podcast for a reason, and if they just dabble in working on their voices, they'll be really surprised at what they'll discover about themselves. That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Roger. Thank you, everyone who's listening. We really appreciate you listening, and we ask you to pass it on to other maybe singers or people who don't think they can sing, but you think that this might inspire them. And we hope that you've gotten something from today, that you understand that you have value. And even if it's just singing for the cats at home, singing can be valuable. That's it. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Bye-bye.
You gave your hand to me, even when I couldn't see. Don't think that I didn't know. It's just at times I couldn't show. It might have been some kind of fear, but now it seems so clear. You were my angel in disguise, right before my eyes. I just had to let you know. So before you go, when you look at me, no matter what you see, don't let these tears conceal my smile. Oh no. You showed me when I went wrong, then held me for so long. Oh, you taught me just how to feel, that love is all that's real. So how do I thank you now? Please show me how. You were my angel in disguise, right before my eyes. Yeah, I just had to let you know. So before you go, when you look at me, no matter what you see, don't let these tears conceal my smile. Oh no, I'll always know how much you gave, and the difference in my life you've made. Now you must go your way. I needed you to hear me say, you were my angel in disguise, right before my eyes. And I just had to let you know. So before you go, when you look at me, no matter what you see, don't let these tears conceal my smile. Oh no, you were my angel in disguise, right before my eyes. And I just had to let you know. So before you go, when you look at me, no matter what you see, don't let these tears conceal my smile.